night that day. The sun was shining bright in the sky. The air was crisp and fresh. I jumped up out of bed, ready to face the day. I walked past my brother, wrapped in a pale blue blanket, his face puffed up in blue. I walked into the bathroom to brush my teeth. The ugly man in the mirror took the toothbrush and shoved it down his throat. Minty fresh breath. I walked past my mother cooking food, wearing a satin red nightgown, as red as the fire that then consumed her. I sat down to eat my breakfast, a lovely omelette. Blood that looked like ketchup and cum that looked like cream was slathered all over it. Scrumptious. I walked right out onto the street and unwrapped a candy bar along the way. A car rammed into someone right in front of me. As he reversed over them, I unwrapped the candy bar and I took a bite. Crunch, crack. As I walked down the road, a beautiful girl with curly hair graced me with a shy smile before a man came up to her, grabbed her by the throat and lifted her into the air. To drown out her screams, I put in my headphones, let it go and whispered in my ear, even damnation is poisoned with rainbows. I walked into the park and I saw my best friend smoking a cigarette. She put out the cigarette on my throat. Remember, cigarette smoking is injurious to health. As we sat down, she told me of her latest suicide attempt. And as the story of her death mingled with all the other deaths in my broken OCD brain, she asked me, "So, how was your day?" Like any other day. So, that was the first poem. Now on to the second. This poem is a placeholder poem. This poem is not beautiful. This poem is not like all the other poems that are on the stage today. A beautiful poem will remind you of simplicity and ease. It will remind you of the smooth fur of your golden dog. It will remind you of the kisses that your lover leaves on your fingertips. It will remind you of the smell of freshly baked cake. It will remind you of a sunset on a beautiful lake. This poem is not that poem. This poem is a placeholder poem. This poem will remind you of the cold fur of your dead dog. It will remind you of the stale smell of days-old bread. It will remind you of the last kiss your lover leaves on your cheek. It will remind you of the water that fills your lungs as you drown in the lake. A placeholder poem for a placeholder life. A life in which I cannot experience the beauty of nature. A life where I cannot experience joy or taste or pleasure. A life where I just pretend to be like you. But what if I don't pretend? What if I know that I'm not a poem like you? What if I am something completely different? What if I'm a new poem? A poem that reminds you that a light still shines beneath your eyes, that a song still rolls off your tongue, that the heady smell of victory will one day fill your nostrils, that the hope that you feel in your heart, that you feel in your bones is not a lie, that it is true, that it can come every day. I am a placeholder poem because I will remind you every day that you still hold a place in this world, that you still hold a place in my heart.